There's something about seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi walk through the desert like a Force ghost with a mortgage that just hits different. He's not saving planets or leading clone armies anymore. He's just buying meat, dodging Inquisitors, and trying not to make eye contact with Owen Lars. And for a while, that quiet sadness actually worked. It made him human again. It made him small in a galaxy that no longer needed him. But now we're talking about a second season. Another round of wandering, whispering, and maybe fighting Vader again, because hey, the first rematch didn't completely break canon. There's a weird sense of déjà vu already creeping in, and we haven't even seen a trailer yet. Do we really want more? Or do we just not know how to let go of anything with a lightsaber in it? And look, I love Ewan McGregor as much as anyone. The man aged like a Jedi aged wine, and he somehow made the act of digging in sand feel emotional. But even he looked like he was wondering how many episodes he had left until he could take a nap. If he comes back, he deserves more than a filler arc and a few new excuses to whisper Leia while staring dramatically into the distance. We're in that strange era where Star Wars is obsessed with filling every narrative gap like it's afraid of silence. They can't just leave a character with peace. They have to poke the bear until it cries on camera again. And if Obi-Wan gets dragged back into another galaxy-spanning crisis just so they can sell more Black Series figures, we might officially be out of new ideas. I'm not saying it's doomed, but I'm also not convinced we need it. There's a fine line between expanding lore and recycling it until it turns into thematic mush. Obi-Wan's story ended with grace and weight and a ghostly Liam Neeson cameo, which, let's be honest, is the closest thing to Jedi retirement benefits we're ever going to get. In this video, we're diving into whether Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 is a bold continuation or just another desperate encore. We'll break down what worked, what didn't, and whether this sequel is something we genuinely need, or something Disney needs to justify a few more action figures and a Disney Plus content slot. So, here we are again, staring down the barrel of another Star Wars maybe season. The first Obi-Wan Kenobi series gave us a front row seat to exile, trauma, and the slow crawl back to the Force. It wrapped up with emotional closure, a Vader fight that shattered the internet, and a glimpse of peace in Obi-Wan's haunted eyes. And now Disney's dangling the idea of a second round, like we didn't already walk that road. And I'll be honest, I'm curious. Not because I think we need more, but because the possibilities are just too weird to ignore. What's left for a man who already forgave himself, faced his worst failure, and rode off into the desert like a Force-powered cowboy? Do we really want to open that wound again? Or are we just addicted to nostalgia in a Jedi robe? Season 1 did what a prequel spin-off should do it, filled in emotional gaps without stepping on canon's toes. But if we go back, what are we actually trying to find? More Tatooine, more Leia adventures, another secret showdown with Darth midlife crisis. It raises more questions than it answers, and honestly, that might be the point, because, let's face it, Star Wars has a pattern. We get closure, then Disney squints at it sideways and says, yeah, but what if we reopen it with a flashback and an obscure plot thread from a comic book nobody read? I'm not saying that's always bad, but it's rarely subtle. And with Obi-Wan, subtlety was kind of the whole point. So let's dig into it. What did Season 1 accomplish? What's still on the table? And what would a Season 2 even look like that doesn't mess with the quiet dignity of what came before? We're cracking this one open like a Jedi holocron and seeing what's actually inside. Okay, deep breath. Because if we're being honest, the first season wasn't perfect to begin with. It had great moments, sure, but also some of the weirdest pacing and filler in recent Star Wars history. One minute, Obi-Wan's having an emotional breakdown. The next, he's playing laser tag in a warehouse. Then he's sneaking a child out under a trench coat, like it's a school play gone wrong. And that's the thing, if Season 1 was already stretching it for 6 episodes, what is Season 2 even aiming for? Are we really going to get 6 more hours of Obi-Wan hides badly and stares into the distance? Or is this just another excuse to trot out familiar characters and cross-promote the next spin-off? The idea of more Obi-Wan sounds great, until you remember it means more filler too. What made the first season resonate wasn't lightsabers or cameos, it was pain. Pure, unfiltered sorrow. Obi-Wan wasn't a hero when we found him. He was broken, lost, barely holding on to the man he used to be. And that's what made his arc matter. Because Star Wars had never really sat with its failures before. Not like that. We saw the Jedi Orders collapse through one man's grief. He carried the weight of Anakin's fall, the clone's betrayal, and the Jedi's extinction. And through all of that, he still watched over Luke from the shadows, like a silent guardian who no longer believed in himself. That was powerful. That was personal. And it was something no sequel, prequel, or spin-off had given us before. His reunion with Vader wasn't just a rematch, it was an autopsy. Obi-Wan wasn't fighting to win. He was fighting to say goodbye. That I'm sorry moment crushed fans for a reason. Because it wasn't just about Anakin, It was about Obi-Wan finally forgiving himself. And after that, he didn't need to swing another saber ever again. To go back would mean risking that resolution, turning a complete arc into a checklist. If we dig up his pain again just for the sake of drama, we risk cheapening it. There's only so many times you can make a character cry before the audience stops feeling it, and maybe that's what hurts the most. Knowing that the character who finally found peace might be dragged back into chaos. Not because it helps his story, but because Star Wars doesn't know how to let go. Still, we can't pretend Obi-Wan Season 1 didn't give us some of the most stunning moments in modern Star Wars. That duel in the Quarry Vader's breathing broken, Obi-Wan's eyes wide with horror. It wasn't just action, it was cinema. Pure, mythic, visual storytelling that didn't need a word of dialogue to scream emotion. And Leia, little Leia stole the show. Vivian Lyra Blair somehow held her own against Ewan McGregor in every scene, which is like asking a squirrel to upstage Gandalf. She brought spark, soul, and a glimpse of the rebellion in its earliest, most chaotic form. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. And it added layers to both her and Obi-Wan's legacy. Even the quiet moments hit hard. Obi-Wan talking to Leia about her parents. Obi-Wan digging up his lightsabers in the sand, like a man uncovering buried guilt. That kind of imagery stays with you, and it reminded us that Star Wars, at its best, is about people first and powers second. There's still something worth exploring. Maybe Season 2 doesn't have to retread the same beats or push Obi-Wan back into despair. Maybe it can evolve, take us deeper without unraveling what's already been sown. There's potential here, it just needs discipline, vision, and a story that knows where it's going. Picture this: Obi-Wan encountering other Jedi in hiding, training one last time before fully stepping into hermitage, learning more about the spiritual side of the Force, not through battles, but through wisdom and legacy. He's not the man he was in the Clone Wars, and he never will be. That's a strength, not a weakness. Or take a risk. Give us an anthology format. Let Obi-Wan be the anchor while telling smaller stories of survival, rebellion, and redemption. Stories that echo his journey without making him repeat it. Sometimes being a legend means standing aside so others can rise. There are ways to make a second season feel meaningful. It just can't be about topping the first. It has to be about deepening it. Less spectacle, more soul. Fewer cameos, more consequence. Not everything needs to be bigger to be better. So if Disney insists on going back to the well, maybe they can do it with purpose. Maybe, instead of stretching a story thin, they can refine it, strip it down to the essentials, and show us that even legends have quiet chapters worth telling. In the end, the question isn't whether Obi-Wan can return, it's whether he should. And that's where Star Wars always finds itself at a crossroads, between honoring what came before and exploiting it just enough to lose the magic. Because Season 1 was a rare thing, it gave us closure. Not perfect closure, but something emotional, cinematic, and worthy of the Jedi who lost everything and still kept hope alive. Reopening that chapter without care runs the risk of turning legacy into redundancy. We've seen what happens when franchises don't know when to stop, when they mistake silence for a gap to fill instead of a breath to hold. Obi-Wan's story doesn't need more noise. It needs memory. It needs respect. And sometimes, the strongest ending is knowing when not to write another beginning, but that's the trap. Star Wars thrives on familiarity, on revisiting icons until they're as worn as the robes they wear. And if Season 2 happens, it will either elevate Obi-Wan into deeper myth, or unravel what was finally stitched together after decades of silence. So do we need a second season? Maybe not. But if they make one, it better remember what made the first one matter. Because if they get it wrong, we're not just losing a good story. We're rewriting the goodbye that took us 20 years to hear. Thank you for watching the whole video. I make videos because of my love for Star Wars and Marvel. I've been asked countless times how I get my subtitles, and I generate them automatically with a tool I built. That same tool can be used here on my website. It's completely free and doesn't require signing up. My website contains the subtitle generator that is perfect for any video. Blogging post, where you can sign up with your email and receive notifications for when I post, and also my 3 channels. Critical Analysis Hub focuses on Star Wars and Marvel movies. Critical Analysis Hub Plus looks at Star Wars and Marvel shows. And Critical Analysis Hub XP centers on video games like The Last of Us series, Jedi Survivor, and GTA 5. Thank you for being a fan.